Haiti 2018 International Religious Freedom Report. Executive Summary. The Constitution provides for the free exercise of all religions. The law establishes the conditions for recognition and practice of religious groups. The government continued to provide the Roman Catholic Church with funds and privileges other religious groups did not receive. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Religious Denominations, MFA, continued to state that it must provide such privileges to the Catholic Church in accordance with an 1860 International Convention, Concordat, between the government and the Holy See and not due to government preference. For the Catholic Church, although vodou was a registered religious group, the government again did not grant vodou clergy legal certification to perform civil marriages or baptisms. The MFA still did not approve long-standing requests from the Muslim community for religious registration. The MFA stated the government did not recognize Islam as an official religion because Islamic practices, such as polygamy, belief in the death penalty, and the practice of adopting Islamic names after conversion were incompatible with the law. According to media reports, on January 16, police arrested 4 men suspected of killing well-known Catholic priest Joseph Simoli in December 2017. While some individuals alleged Simoli was killed because of his political activism, others said there was no strong evidence that his death was anything but the result of a violent armed robbery. Vodou community leaders said vodou practitioners continued to experience social stigmatization for their beliefs and practices. According to the leadership of the National Confederation of Haitian Vaudouxants, as in previous years, teachers and administrators in Catholic and Protestant schools at times openly rejected and condemned vodou culture and customs as contrary to the teachings of the Bible. Muslim leaders said their community, especially Muslim women wearing hijabs, continued to face social stigma and discrimination from the rest of society. Muslims also said they faced discrimination when seeking public and private sector employment. U.S. Embassy officials met with the MFA to reinforce the importance of religious freedom, in particular the need for equal protection and equal legal rights for religious minority groups. Embassy representatives also met with faith-based non-governmental organizations, NGOs, and Catholic, Protestant, vodou, and Muslim religious leaders to seek their views on religious freedom and tolerance, and to emphasize the importance of respecting religious diversity and the rights of members of minority religious groups. Religious demography. The U.S. government estimates the total population at 10.8 million, July 2018. Estimate. The U.S. government estimates 55% of the population is Catholic, 29% Protestant, 15% Baptist, 8% Pentecostal, 3% Adventist, 1.5% Methodist, and 0.7% other Protestant, 2.1% vodou, 4.6% other, and 10% none. Groups present in small numbers include the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, Jehovah's Witnesses, Muslims, Baha'is, Rastafarians, Scientologists, and atheists. According to societal leaders, an estimated 50 to 80% of the population practices some form of vodou, often blended with elements of other religions, usually Christianity. Muslim leaders estimate their community at 10,000. there are fewer than 100 Jews. Section 2. Status of government: respect for religious freedom. Legal framework. The Constitution provides for the free exercise of all religions and establishes laws to regulate the registration and operation of religious groups. The Constitution protects against being compelled to belong to a religious group contrary to one's beliefs. The MFA is responsible for monitoring and administering laws relating to religious groups. Within the MFA, the Bureau of Worship is responsible for registering churches and other religious buildings, clergy, and missionaries of various religious denominations. By law, the licensing of pastors, priests, and other religious leaders is a government prerogative. To obtain a license, the prospective religious leader must submit a dossier of 14 documents to the MFA, including a diploma of theology/religious studies, a certificate of good moral conduct, and a recommendation letter signed by a registered religious institution. Once the MFA confirms the applicant's eligibility for a license, the individual must take an oath before an official of the Ministry of Justice. Although Catholicism has not been the official state religion since the enactment of the 1987 Constitution, and 1860 Concordat between the Holy See and the state, according some preferential treatment to the Catholic Church remains in effect. The Concordat gives the Vatican power to approve and select a specific number of bishops in the country with government consent. Under the Concordat, the government provides a monthly stipend to Catholic priests. The government does not provide stipends to Episcopalian or other clergy, although both Catholic and Episcopalian bishops have official license plates and carry diplomatic passports. The government also allows the head of the Protestant Federation to use official license plates and carry a diplomatic passport. By law, religious institutions must register with the MFA to operate in the country and receive government benefits. However, there is no penalty for operating without registration, and many religious groups continue to do so. Registration affords religious groups standing in legal disputes, provides tax-exempt status, and extends civil recognition to documents such as marriage certificates and baptismal certificates issued by the group. The government recognizes these certificates as legal documents only when prepared by government-licensed clergy. Baptismal certificates are identifying documents with legal authority similar to birth certificates. The government does not tax registered religious groups, and it exempts their imports from customs duties. Requirements for registration include information on the qualifications of the group's leader, a membership directory, and a list of the group's social projects. Registered religious groups must submit annual updates of their membership, projects, and leadership to the MFA. Foreign missionaries must submit registration paperwork to operate privately funded clinics, schools, and orphanages. Foreign religious groups do not have special visa requirements. The country is a party to the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. Government practices. The MFA stated the 2003 government directive establishing vodou as an official religion gives the right to the vodou community to issue official documents, but the National Confederation of Haitian Vodou, KNVA, had not taken the necessary administrative steps to begin issuing such documents. The MFA stated it was working with the vodou community to develop a certification process for Houngans, male vodou leaders, and Mambos, female vodou leaders, in accordance with the vodou belief system. Certification permits vodou leaders to validate marriages, baptisms, and other sacraments performed in accordance with vodou traditions. As of September, there were 9,317 certified pastors, 718 certified priests, but only 2 certified Houngan/Mambos. The KNVA said the MFA authorized 12 additional vodou leaders to be officially certified. However, as of December, their certification remained pending with the Port-au-Prince prosecutor's office, which was responsible for swearing in the individuals, the final step for official certification. The MFA again did not act on a request dating from the 1980s to register Muslims as a religious group. The MFA stated the government did not recognize Islam as an official religion because Islamic practices such as polygamy, belief in the death penalty, and the practice of adopting Islamic names after conversion were incompatible with the law. The government issued a specific registration number to the Ahmadiyya Muslim community that did not include the rest of the country's Muslim population. However, it reiterated the registration number was not equivalent to official recognition. Muslims said they continued to obtain civil marriage licenses as their only legal option. The government continued to provide financial support for the maintenance of Catholic churches and some Catholic schools. The MFA stated it was required to provide such privileges to the Catholic Church in accordance with the Concordat signed between the government and the Holy See in 1860 and not due to a government preference for the Catholic Church. The Protestant Federation said that while it was eligible, in accordance with the 2016 agreement, it did not regularly receive government financial support. As of September, the Protestant Federation said it had not received any government support. The Protestant Federation said Protestant groups operated approximately 40% of the country's universities and 60% of its hospitals. In August, the Office of Civilian Protection, OPC, the country's human rights ombudsman, wrote to the Senate and Chamber of Deputies Education Commissions to express disagreement with the State University of Haiti's practice of holding admissions exams for the 2018-19 academic year on weekends. The OPC stated that several religious leaders said holding exams on Saturdays and Sundays was an infringement on religious liberty. The OPC replied the university was a public institution and should adhere to the Monday to Friday schedule that all other public institutions maintained. Officials within the Department of Corrections stated that limited institutional capacity and budgetary limitations continued to restrict their ability to provide meals in compliance with Islamic dietary restrictions. Prisoners could request to see an imam. However, not all prisons were close enough to an Islamic institution that could provide such services. Volunteers provided religious services in some prisons. Although by law the government has exclusive authority to license pastors, the Protestant Federation advocated for shared authority to license pastors, stating it would create a more stringent licensing process and reduce the cases of unlicensed pastors and churches that can spread dangerous messages to their congregations. The Protestant Federation cited the case of Makinson Dorilas, who instructed HIV-positive members of his congregation to consume a homemade remedy made from insects as an example of government laxity in licensing churches and pastors. The MFA stated in September that Dorales was not a licensed pastor. Protestant and Catholic clergy continued to report largely positive working relationships with the government, citing good access to government officials. Section 3. Status of societal respect for religious freedom. According to media reports, on January 16, police arrested 4 men suspected of killing well-known Catholic priest Joseph Simoli in December 2017 in Port-au-Prince. While some individuals alleged Simoli was killed because of his political activism, others said there was no strong evidence that his death was anything but the result of a violent armed robbery. Vodou leaders said vodou practitioners continued to experience social stigmatization for their beliefs and practices. They said members of the public often accused vodou practitioners of using occult powers to commit violent crimes. The KNVA cited as an example the frequent use by sick individuals of a combination of modern and traditional medicine, usually administered by a houngan or mambo. If the person seeking treatment died, however, prosecutors often accused and arrested houngans or mambos for causing the death. The KNVA said houngans and mambos were also subject to violent attacks and sometimes killed by community members who did not practice vodou due to its associated social stigmas. In December, media reported a case in which a young vodou practitioner, Wilbens Maxime, provided treatment to a young woman who sought his assistance after she fell ill. After the woman died, unidentified individuals accused the vodou practitioner of causing the death with mystical powers and killed him. According to KNVA leadership, as in previous years, teachers and administrators in Catholic and Protestant schools at times openly rejected and condemned vodou culture and customs as contrary to the teachings of the Bible. According to some Muslim leaders, members of the Muslim community experienced societal stigmatization and alienation, especially Muslim women wearing hijabs. For example, Muslim women wearing the hijab had difficulty obtaining identification documents such as passports and identity cards because local authorities applied strict standards for face visibility in official documents. Muslims also reportedly faced discrimination when seeking public and private sector employment. The local chapter of Religions for Peace, an international interfaith organization, whose members include representatives from the Catholic, Anglican, and Protestant churches as well as the vodou community, continued to meet, focusing on promoting human rights, including religious freedom. In October, the chapter organized a roundtable to discuss religion and women's rights in the country. Section 4. U.S. Government Policy and Engagement. U.S. Embassy officials met with government officials, including officials from the MFA, to emphasize the importance of fair and equal treatment for all religious groups, including religious minorities, and equal treatment in the government's required registration process. Embassy officials also met with faith-based NGOs and religious leaders in the Protestant, Catholic, Muslim, and vodou communities to discuss religious freedom, societal stigmatization of some religious minorities, the importance of religious tolerance, and challenges some groups faced in obtaining registration of their group and clergy. The first mention of Haitian zombies was in the early 1600s and mirrored the belief of enslaved Africans that death would bring them back to a heaven-like afterlife in Africa where they could be free, but that suicide would force them to live in the plantations forever, condemned to become soulless zombies that could be brought back by vodou priests. In traditional Caribbean urban legends, Haitian zombies are actually just depicted as undead enslaved Africans, not as rotting corpses trying to eat human brains. Haitian voodoo, the original zombie. Long before The Walking Dead invaded our screens, zombies were born in the shadows of Haitian vodou, often misrepresented as voodoo. In Haitian culture, a zombie wasn't a flesh-eating monster, it was a reanimated corpse, brought back to life by a boker, a type of sorcerer. These zombies weren't mindless killers, they were slaves, robbed of free will and doomed to labor for their master. The concept is deeply tied to slavery, colonization, and the fear of losing one's autonomy even after death. Being turned into a zombie was considered a fate worse than dying. One of the most fascinating and intricate processes in Haitian vodou is zombification, which revives the recently dead into mindless, soulless zombies. As part of the vodou religion, the bokers, Haitian vodou sorcerers, have the power to create and control zombies. The exact methods and concoctions used vary among bokers, but the process believed by the Haitian people describes the following general pattern. Some zombification processes use blood and hair from their victims in addition to using vodou dolls, while others involve a carefully prepared mixture called coup de poudre, powder strike, made of mystical herbs, human remains, and animal parts. Administrating this mixture can also vary from ingestion, injection, or even a blow dart, the boker and magic powder. Once the mixture has been made by the boker and administered to the victim, it starts to take effect on the body. The victim becomes immobile, has an incredibly faint heartbeat, and his or her breathing is drastically reduced within a few minutes so that the victim appears dead. While in this death-resembling state, the victim is still fully aware of the surroundings but cannot express himself. Once taken to the hospital and declared dead by the doctor, the seemingly lifeless body is buried in a grave soon after death, since the heat and lack of refrigeration generally in Haiti makes the bodies decay rapidly. After the body is buried, the boker enters the grave and digs up the body. This happens within 8 hours of the burial because otherwise the victim will die of asphyxiation. Next, the boker performs an ancient vodou rite where he or she captures the victim's bone ange, which is the part of the soul directly connected to an individual. He or she can do this by capturing it within 7 days immediately following the death of the corps cadavre, while it is still hovering over the corpse, or by spreading poisons in the form of a cross on the threshold of the victim's doorway. Either way, this affects a split in the spiritual parts of the victim and produces two complementary types of zombies: the spirit zombie, the zombie of the bone ange alone, and the zombie cadavre, the zombie of the flesh, which is composed of the ame, the gros bone ange, and the ziatoil, the ethnobiology of the Haitian zombie 99. Then he traps the spirit zombie part of the soul, or zombie astral, in a small clay jar or some other commonplace container, and replaces it with the loa that the boker controls. This container is hidden in a secret place known only to the boker and is finally wrapped in a piece of the victim's clothing or some other personal possession. After a day or two, the boker then administers a hallucinogenic mixture called the zombie's cucumber that revives the victim and is used to keep the zombie in a state of submissive confusion, The Bokor and magic powder. In this state, the zombie cannot speak, has no memory, and no longer resembles its past human personality. As a result, the zombie is easy to control and the Bokor can use the zombie as a slave for farm labor and construction work. The zombies are completely under the rule of the Bokor that made them and consequently work as slaves until the Bokor dies. Once they are released from their slave labor, the zombies can finally return to their home village or place of burial and die. A major concern in Haitian folklore concerning zombies is the act of feeding salt to a zombie. While zombies are usually not particularly dangerous, giving them salt will return their senses and restore their personality. This will lead the zombies to attack the Bokor who created them or to return to their place of burial for their final death. While zombification seems at first to be a strictly physical experience, there is additionally a psychological aspect in the ritual and is a spiritual process. A psychological or cultural predisposition is imperative in order for the victims to become a zombie. After being buried alive, the victim's reawakening as a zombie follows a psychotic state. The victim is able to reconstruct their identity as a zombie due to a combination of the psychosis induced by the drugs, the psychological trauma of being buried alive, and the strong beliefs of zombies in their culture. This all contributes to the psychological aspect that controls the victim's perception and actions. Living in Haiti and the social reinforcement of their beliefs in zombies further contribute to their zombie identity and experience. Scottish psychiatrist R.D. Lang emphasized the connection between social and cultural expectations and compulsion, in the context of schizophrenia and other mental illness, Haitian vodou or voodoo zombie. He observed that schizogenesis may contribute to the psychological aspects of zombification. The following 6-part video titled Investigating the Haitian Zombie is Hamilton Morris's quest in Haiti to discover the secrets of zombification and the poison's formula to do a formal chemical analysis. Hamilton Morris is a journalist and science editor for Vice magazine where he travels around the world to investigate unusual psychoactive drugs.